Alright, so today in this video we will discuss how to publish an application for user, assign to user, create an access control list so that user can access application, log in with client or browser and access the application. So these are the few things that we are going to cover during this video. Okay, so before we jump on creating an application, assigning and accessing, we need to understand few things that we need to first take care, and then we will come back on the application publishing. So we will talk about uh, sort very quickly on architecture, like how it is going to happen, and then we will talk about the application publishing. So right now, in most of the cases, your HySecure server will be in DMZ zone or a separate zone where control will be restricted and only specific ports will be allowed to communicate. Alright, so let's say that I have got my HySecure server on this particular zone and there are few application servers over here. Okay, and the user is accessing from you can say internal network or external network, that should work something from here or from your LAN network even. Alright, so just give some name. It can be external user, so let's give this name as external user. This would be your HySecure server and this will be your application. This can be application server. Okay, and this may be your internal user who is sitting on LAN. Now let's define the zone as well to identify that this is your DMZ zone. So the press communication to this zone is restricted by these two firewalls. So you can say that this is internet facing firewall, and you can say this as DMZ firewall. Some places it is named as internal firewall. So you can choose name based on your own understanding. Now the restriction of communication is done by using these two firewall, that who all can reach to your HySecure server from external world and internal world. Okay, so this need to be restricted. Okay, and by default as HySecure server listens only on port 443, so if your internal user want a communication to your HySecure server, there should be port open between your LAN environment. Okay, let me give it name, that should be very clear. So we'll say this is your LAN environment. So if this is a LAN environment, users should be connecting to your HySecure, and for that your internal firewall should allow traffic on port 43 to communicate with your HySecure server. And similarly, if this is your external user who is trying to connect to your HySecure server, because this all traffic will be coming through over the internet, uh, here your internet firewall should have a NAT policy, and that NAT policy should allow traffic forwarding or address translation to your HySecure server, and traffic should reach to your HySecure server, and by default I will again mention here that the port is 443. So this is how going to work when you are communicating with the HySecure server. So important part is that when you are connecting to your HySecure from here or from here, uh, in that case you will be connected to your server and any application access will work through HySecure server. Now this is important because your traffic is going to move from HySecure server to your application server. So this particular port should be reachable for your application server. That means you have to do adequate port opening between your DMZ zone and LAN zone so that HySecure server can communicate with your application server. And this is important. If it is not open, you need to first open and then integrate your application over HySecure server. In my case, I have already opened a port between HySecure server to your application server, so I'm going to proceed for publishing one server RDP through HySecure, and then we will check by logging from internal as well external user. So we will check in both ways. Alright, so let's move on your on our dashboard, and while adding application you have to go on app section, and here you have to create app, and you have to select RDP type, because I'm going to publish RDP of my server. So I will simply say that uh, this is RDP of my server, so let's give it name server RDP. You can choose name based on your need, and then I will choose app tunnel by default. We will talk in later videos where we will discuss about these two different type of tunnel, turbo tunnel, app tunnel. At this moment we are going to use our server, which is 10004, and you have to mention a request port which we are looking to communicate. Do a test connection and see if it is reachable. Yes, it is reachable. Then you can scroll down and submit, because I don't have yet any application group, so I'm going to submit straightforward. If you have application group, then you can choose that from option. I'm going to create one group, and let's say this is my RDP group. So this is my RDP group, and you don't need to enable this option unless it is specified. And what is the purpose of this particular uh, what is use of this particular option that I have already discussed in earlier videos, that if you want to assign application to the user who is admin user or security officer user, then only these then only this option need to be allowed. So if this option is enabled, your normal user won't be able to that application. So you have to ensure that if it is for your normal user, then in that case you don't need to enable this option. Now from here I will select the application. This is RDP, select it here, submit it over here, and submit. So now if you look again back on your application, go on server RDP, C, modifying by C, just look over here and you will see that this application has been already added into the RDP group. You can do the same from here. The only thing you need to ensure that you have already created an application group over there. Okay, so how this application assignment is going to work here in that case, let's go with new icon, new page. Alright, so we are going to create multiple applications. So let's say that I'm going to create an application, multiple application, not only one, and give it name kind of let's say that I want to publish RDP, then I want to publish SSH of some Linux server, then I want to publish some kind of SAP server. I can publish some network for users. Okay, so there can be multiple type of applications. So rather than assigning one by one application to users, that only RDP, only SSH, only SAP and network, there is a better approach where you can create a group, application group, and then you can map this app group to all these applications. So while creating an application, you can map these applications to a specific app group, and assignment procedure where you will create an ACL, that is access control list. You need to map only app group. So map to app group. Okay, let's go with some different colors. So here in ACL you need to map to app group. That means you don't need to make change again and again in ACL if you are adding new application anytime. So consider it that later I got a requirement that I want to add an application for the same users, and this is you can say delete. So I don't need to do any change on group or ACL. Simply I need to create an application and map this application to your app group. And because this app group is already mapped to your access control, where users has already got assignment of this app group, they will by default get access of this application. So rather than doing all those assignment again, you just need to add application and map to the group. This will save your time by making every time modification on your ACL. So here we have got your application. It has been mapped to group. Now we will go and create a policy for the user so that they can access. So click on add, and you can provide RDPs because I'm going to access RDP. You can add description if you want to add something that what particular this ACL is going to do. Then you have to select your HySecure domain. We discussed this in earlier videos, what is HySecure domain, and then inside that HySecure domain all mapped authorization server will be visible over here. So my user is from AD, so I'm going to use that option. Then here you can choose either user or user group. So if I will go with user, give the three options: all users, get all users from Active Directory, or search by manually by username. And if you go with user group, then it is again all group or selected group. So you can choose options based on your need. I'm going to choose per user. So I'm going to search manually my user over here. Okay, I got my user. I will add over here, and then I will add my application group which I showed you here. So I'm going to map this add group in my ACL, submit it, and done. For a normal user login, your server should be in run state. So this should be in run state. If it is not in run state, you have to make this server in run state by going on service configuration and then going on gateway state. You can change the state from here. Okay, alright, because we have given already access, let's try to log in and see if we have got application assignment over here. Okay, so let's log in as a normal user. So here we have signed access for user 2. So I'm going to enter credential for user 2 and see if I have got access. Okay, it took some time, but I got now my RDP access my server. You can similarly try this from browser by using browser as well. So here you can again use user 2 option and then enter its credential, and here you get your application. Okay, so that is how it works. If you have public IP, you can perform NAT, and then you can similarly access from the external network as well. Alright, there are other options in our server where we can do integration. Let's log in and see there are other applications that still has not been discussed. So we will discuss multiple scenarios in next videos where we will consider different type of applications, situations where we are going to publish app, assign to the users. So there are long list of applications. We will discussing all those in next upcoming videos.